1st is not too far away, and we expect Nirmala Sitharaman to come and present to the nation her proposals for this year's budget. We're looking forward to hearing from the Finance Minister. So soon after she makes her speech, there will be the documents that will follow, which one will need to analyze to see what it actually means for all of us. Specifically from an indirect tax perspective, from a GST and customs perspective, the changes that I anticipate are broadly more around customs. GST changes now happen more or less through the year with the GST Council meeting on a regular basis and making changes from time to time. So customs is the area where I anticipate changes. From a GST perspective, I would like to say that India's economy has been showing resilience. We've been having 1.5 lakh crore monthly collections for the last almost couple of years on a regular, consistent basis, and this actually is a matter of pride for the economy, and it indicates that India is healthy. It is currently, like what we are hearing, that it is probably going to be India's decade in the years to come. So this is all very good for all of us to hear, and it is promising, and hopefully this means that us Indians will probably want to spend more money and probably boost even the collections. The current collections of GST may even see some improvement. As long as the environment is positive, there is always the urge to spend and feel good. So these aspects are definitely important to see. So on GST, while there has been talk that there should be introduction of various multiple slabs, different slabs than what we have currently, we'll see whether there would be some announcements around those new slabs. From a GST perspective, what I would sincerely like to see and hear is setting up of GST tribunals. Litigation has begun in the country, and now the recourse after appeal with the adjudication forums is directly with the High Court in the absence of a GST tribunal. What one hears is that tribunals will probably be set up only end FY23, which is still some time away. So there isn't much definiteness around the setting up of tribunals, and in the interim, it appears that appellants, the tax authorities plus taxpayers would need to go to the High Court to seek relief. Another aspect which could be considered is education. The National Education Policy was released recently. The government is showing a boost, some focus on education. There is talk about inviting foreign universities to set up campuses in India. So we find that currently for educational courses which are attended to physically, there is no GST which is charged on such courses. However, if the same course, if there is an online education, then there is an 18% GST. There should be some parity around GST collections vis-a-vis online and offline. So some consideration could be made around that. Another aspect which is one could look at is input tax credits. There are certain costs which businesses need to incur, and the GST system itself has done away significant amount of double tax cascading which existed previously under the erstwhile regime of indirect tax, and there could be some areas in input tax credit where we could see some improvement. Just to take an example, some clarity around CSR expenditure. This expenditure is mandated by the law, and currently there isn't absolute certainty whether the expenses are creditable. Another area is regarding telecom towers and the taxes paid on that, whether that would be creditable. Today there has been litigation on this credit availability on telecom towers as well as restrictions in the law. So, to have a vibrant telecom infrastructure, one should provide the ability to take credit. It is important, an important aspect. We are moving to 5G, and in times to come, we'll be moving to far more advanced technologies. So, one should look at how we could provide impetus to this sector, which is essential for the growth of our economy. The other aspect that I'd like to touch upon is essentially from customs. Customs, we have various aspects really. The SVB, though there was an overhaul of the SVB process, it still continues to have certain aspects which could be dealt with better. It still can be fairly time consuming, and there could be provisional duty also collected, and this can lead to significant aspects in a company's balance sheet. So those are aspects which could be addressed on a special valuation branch, and how to speeden up the process. The other aspect that I'd like to touch upon is provisional assessment. Provisional assessments sometimes require provision of a bank guarantee. If there could be just a bond that is given, that would also assist importers. Bank guarantee has a financial impact as well. So this was another suggestion. The provisions around Karutar that were released have led to certain stress amongst importers importing from under FTAs, and there is a sense that and an expectation that the provisions around Karutar may be eased. So I hope we get to see that, because there are questions which are raised at times by officials on the certificate of origin itself, and questions around that, and that becomes very difficult for the importer in India to always prove, because they may not necessarily have the recourse from the exporting country. Another aspect from a customs perspective is amnesty. Amnesty is something that we've seen under service tax, we've seen it under income tax, VAT as well. We've seen various amnesty schemes. We could probably consider an amnesty scheme for customs that would help in reducing the litigations that we have in customs. One other area in customs which we could look at is FTAs. There are various FTAs which are under negotiation, the UK, US, also the EU. So if this could, we see these happening soon, that would also be a positive development for the country. There's an expectation that there may be new sectors introduced for production linked incentive scheme, the PLI scheme which the government had launched, essentially Make in India, to promote Make in India, the vision of the government being Make in India. So India has a sustainability agenda, and also with the leadership that they have under G20, they may want to make certain changes in the customs provisions as well as the PLI provisions to encourage this sector. So we may see changes around that, and maybe PLI for sectors like battery storage, electronic components. We may see some changes around that and some announcements around that. So broadly, I think it should be a budget which leaves us feeling good. This would be the last budget before next year's vote on account, because next year would be election year. So I'm hoping that we would see positive changes to send a feel-good feeling to the nation at large. India does feel proud of all that it has achieved, and I hope we see India becoming even a stronger economy in times to come.